Our film today starts with Jack, whom we know as a major hitman and also a serial killer, but God has now settled things down. But one time he goes to an arms dealer and asks him for a specific weapon. The dealer is surprised since he's a longtime acquaintance because Jack is asking for an M2 sniper rifle with a silencer. Of course, the dealer knows this kind of sniper rifle is only used for one specific purpose, and he can't believe Master Jack is going back to a life of crime again. But Jack tells him to cut the talk and just give him the weapon since he has an urgent job. But to understand who Jack is and what his story is and why he's back in crime again, let's go back in time to understand the whole thing and get to know the professional criminal Jack, who we learn was a major hitman, one of the most dangerous people in his field. But that was before he retired, and now he works in real estate management for a friend of his, living a quiet life away from trouble, a very cold, quiet person, organized in every detail of his life. Meanwhile, his wife asks him for a favor he's not thrilled about at all. She tells him her friend is traveling with her to Jeju Island for 3 weeks, and her house is also under renovation. This friend has a 17-year-old daughter named Yeonjae, and needs someone to look after her during this period until they get back, so she wants him to host the girl at their house until her mother returns. At first he flatly refuses and tries to convince his wife the girl won't be comfortable staying with a man alone in the house, and that surely this wouldn't be the best situation. But his wife doesn't give him any room to argue, telling him this girl means a lot to her and directly making clear that if anything happens to her, he'll be responsible to her. In the end, the poor man has no choice but to agree, not because he is convinced of the idea, but because he knows he has no other option. The next morning, Kim goes to meet Yeonjae for the first time and notices she shows no signs of fear or nervousness at all. She was standing next to her friend Heejo, and Yeonjae simply asks him if her friend can come along too. He thinks quickly and agrees to what she wants. On the way, Yeonjae starts a conversation with him and looks at the expensive car he's driving, asking him how come he affords a car like this. He answers her very coldly, saying he's just someone who manages properties for a friend, nothing more. When he reaches Metro Judai Station, Heejo gets out first, and then he gives Yeonjae some money, but makes clear this money isn't a gift or anything, it's just a bribe to keep her away from sketchy places and trouble, warning her that if she breaks this agreement the fine will get bigger next time. Yeonjae smiles, thanks him right away, gathers her things and leaves. After they get back home, the two of them start getting to know each other more. She tries to bring up different topics and asks about his life, his age, his job, but he keeps giving her the same short answer every time. Through the conversation he learns she's isolated at school and doesn't have many friends. She admits this to him and tells him she's the type who likes to be alone. Meanwhile, at midnight his phone suddenly rings. He goes to answer and finds it's Yeonjae calling, telling him her stomach hurts and that she needs someone to come pick her up right away. He goes immediately to where she is, and there he discovers she's actually somewhere she shouldn't be at all, and next to her is a boy slightly older than her who introduces himself as her classmate but older than her at school. Jack looks at this whole scene without saying a word, without even starting a discussion with anyone. All he does is sit next to Yeonjae and calmly ask her why her stomach doesn't actually hurt after all, since it clearly wasn't really hurting. Yeonjae responds very coldly, saying she just wanted to see what he would do, and that she doesn't actually want to leave now, and it would be better if he just went home on his own. Master Jack really doesn't care and goes to get in his car to leave. In the next scene, we see Jack actually getting in his car and driving away from the place, but at that moment he notices Yeonjae getting on a motorcycle with someone, taking her things and leaving. He shrugs it off and continues on his way, not thinking much of it, but halfway there he starts feeling guilty and pulls out his phone to check on her, and we discover he'd planted a tracking device in her wallet in case she tried to pull something. So Master Jack heads to where she is, and we learn Yeonjae is with the gang. He walks into their hideout, which the gang uses as their base, entering completely calmly, without any sign of fear on his face, without wasting time looking around or scoping out the place, much as if he's walking in already knowing exactly every step he's going to take before he even arrives. As soon as he enters the hideout, the men there notice his presence, and within seconds they surround him from every direction, each of them ready to stop him from taking a single step forward. But Jack doesn't care about any of this at all. He doesn't even try to speak or explain why he's there. Their presence is nothing to him but a minor obstacle in his way. Suddenly he pulls out his gun and starts moving fast, and everyone in front of him can't even process what's happening. In just a few moments he manages to knock one man to the ground from those blocking his path, and finishes off another one right after, and everyone who tries to stand in his way or stop him meets their end right there. Once Master Jack clears all these obstacles, he heads back to Yeonjai, takes her, gathers his things, and leads. The next morning, the news is all talking about a strange incident. 5 teenagers' bodies were found inside a closed ice skating rink in the area, and this news shocks everyone. But Jack watches the news very calmly, showing no sign of surprise at all. A bit later, someone knocks on his door. He opens it and finds it's Detective Lee. This character's first appearance in the story, a police officer who claims the visit is just a routine procedure. Detective Lee shows him photos from surveillance cameras, and the photo shows Jack's car was near the skating rink about half an hour before the incident. He then starts talking about Yeonjai and tells him she's been reckless before, involved in violence-related trouble at school, and that one of the victims knew her. But Jack isn't shaken by any of this at all, and firmly tells him Yeonjai was with him the entire time, and makes clear he won't allow the detective to speak with her unless he has real evidence against her. The detective takes the information he needs, and before leaving warns him not to travel far in the coming period. After Detective Lee leaves, Jack goes back into the house, where he finds Yeonjai standing there waiting for his reaction. She looks at him calmly and asks whether he sees her as similar to those kids who died, or not. The man doesn't get into a long discussion with her or answer directly. All he says is for her to come eat. As they sit, he tells her a very strange story she'll never forget about a girl he met a long time ago. But this girl hadn't hired him to kill anyone before. She'd personally asked him to kill her, to end her whole existence. He describes how she used to sit staring blankly into empty space, without any feeling. And before he could do anything to her, she made a strange request. She asked him to hug her. He hugged her without thinking, and at that moment she smiled and told him everything would be fine now. To this day, he still remembers that feeling, still feels the push of her hands. As for Yeonjai, she was listening to this whole story in complete silence. A little while later, Yeonjai's phone rings, and when she answers, she discovers an unknown person on the line. This person informs her that they've kidnapped her friend Heejo, and that they have a knife with her fingerprints on it from the skating rink. They threaten her directly, telling her that if she doesn't come to them within 1 hour, the knife will be handed to the police. Jack overhears the entire call and resolves the matter in seconds. He tells Yeonjai to stay in the house and not move, then hands her a watch and orders her to put it on immediately. Finally, he heads out alone to deal with the matter and come back. But something happens that night. Jack arrives at the place where the gang is hiding, and from the outside the place looks completely ordinary, nothing that would catch your attention. But as soon as he goes inside, he discovers the place is actually completely different. It's a club used as a front for a huge trafficking network, where young girls are subjected to pressure and exploitation in exchange for money. The moment he enters the place, he wastes no time and asks about whoever called on the phone. One of the gang members tries to stop him and asks what he wants, but this attempt doesn't even last a few seconds. In an instant, the situation turns into complete chaos. One after another, the gang members start falling. No one can stand against him. As for Jack, he moves through it all with total calm, as if carrying out a routine job he's been doing for years. During the confrontation, he starts gathering all the information he needs, and at that point discovers something very important, that Yeonjai is being kidnapped right now, and that she wasn't a random victim, nor did she get caught up in this by coincidence or anything like that. But actually, some specific people had targeted her by name from the very beginning, meaning there's someone powerful behind everything happening, and he needs to reach them. After pressure and interrogation, he manages to get the information he was after, that Yeonjai is now at a hotel called Don't Tell Papa in the city of Honshu. Without any delay, he gets on his motorcycle and rushes there at full speed. When he arrives at the hotel, he discovers people are already waiting for him there and finds himself in a new confrontation, even more violent than the last one. But again, he doesn't stop for a moment and keeps going until he reaches the hotel manager. We learn this man is one of the gang's members and knows more details than the others, so Jack starts interrogating him in his own way. In the end, the manager completely breaks down and reveals even more information to Jack. The manager tells him Yeonjai isn't actually at the hotel. They've already moved her to a port called Donhe, and there she'll be found on a ship called Vladivostok Marina. This ship is heading toward Russia, and it's set to depart at exactly 8:00 in the morning. Jack checks the time and realizes it's running against him and that he has no room left to waste. Right after, he heads to the port at full speed, knowing deep down that even a small delay could cost him everything. As soon as he arrives, he finds the place heavily secured, armed men spread out everywhere, and it's clear the gang has prepared itself for any attempt to intervene. In the end, he manages to reach the place where Yeonjai is being held and succeeds in rescuing her moments before she's put on the ship. As soon as he spots her in a car with two others, he crashes his car into it and manages to save her. But he soon discovers he's suffered a serious injury during the confrontation. After things calm down a bit, Detective Lee shows up at the port with a group of police officers, and it's clear their presence there was no coincidence at all. Detective Lee actually knew far more details than he'd let on to people, and starts talking to Jack in a completely different way. From what he says, it's clear he intends to quietly get rid of him and make it look like a suicide, nothing more, so things move on smoothly. But even wounded, Jack remains far calmer than him, and coldly surprises him by saying he has evidence of everything he's done. This shocks Detective Lee, and at that moment Jack understands him better, realizing he was just a corrupt cop being used to clean up the mess left behind him, nothing more, and that from this moment on, he's now working in his own interest and for his own benefit. Detective Lee finds no answer to give and stays completely silent. After this violent sequence of events, we cut to the hospital, where we see Jack being treated for the injury he sustained a while ago. At the same time, Yeon-jae is with him in the room, though the two of them don't talk much. But in one quiet moment, Yeon-jae thanks him for everything he did for her and for saving her. He then tells her she still owes him a debt she needs to pay off. But instead of actually asking for something, he tells her he'll just transfer money to her bank account, and that's it. She laughs at his response, the first time she's laughed after everything she's been through. A bit later, we see Jack going to visit an old arms dealer he's known for a long time. This man has never seen Jack ask for something in this way before, so he senses something serious is going on and asks directly why. But Jack refuses to give him any details or tell him anything, and all he asks for is an M2 sniper rifle with a silencer, and he wants it as soon as possible. The dealer pauses for a moment after hearing this request, since he understands well what asking for this weapon means and what Jack must be planning to do. But in the end he tells him it's available and he'll bring it to him. We then see Yeon-jae talking to Jack on the phone, and it's clear from her voice that she's completely broken, her face full of sadness, her eyes filled with tears. She tells Jack that Heeja's mother came to her and told her that her friend had committed suicide, and that Yeon-jae is even carrying part of the blame for what happened. In the end, she tells him to come to her right away because she's falling apart. He calmly replies that he is on his way. During the same period, Jack was in constant contact with Detective Lee and had asked him for one task only to find out who exactly had targeted Yeon-jae by name and plan everything that happened. Detective Lee actually carries out everything he was asked to do, and before long calls Jack back and gives him the information he managed to find the person behind the entire operation, who had deliberately chosen Yeon-jae. This person was known by an alias Park Ju. Jack hears the name and starts thinking about his next move. The information Detective Lee managed to obtain was far more dangerous than Jack expected. After digging deeper into the name, he discovers Park Ju isn't actually a real name at all, it's just an alias for Judge Kim Hoon, who is the head of the Central Judicial Cases, one of the most powerful legal and political figures in the entire country, and even a candidate for Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, a very significant position. At that point, Jack understands this man is the true mastermind behind everything that's been happening to Yeon-jae from the very beginning. But at this point, Jack doesn't care about status, influence, or power at all. So he starts searching for a source of information that could lead him to the full picture. During his search, he finds a woman named Mama Pig. Mama Pig is the woman in charge of running the trafficking network working for the judge, and she starts revealing all the secrets she'd been hiding. Through her, Jack learns the judge regularly holds private parties where young girls, high school students, are gathered together, and he also learns the location of the next party, which will be at a resort near the Ant Museum in the Gapyeong area. Jack understands the real reckoning is about to begin, but there's a problem for him. He still doesn't know what she looks like or how she operates. But once he has the information he needs, he contacts a man named Alex and another named Boris, two friends who specialize in disposing of evidence and cleaning up crime scenes, and asks them to prepare themselves for a major operation in Gapyeong. Right after, he goes to meet the arms dealer he'd contacted earlier, who has already prepared the M2 sniper rifle with its silencer for him. During the handover, the dealer keeps asking, trying to understand what's going on, but Jack gives him no answer at all, takes the weapon and all the equipment he needs, and leaves without explaining anything to him. As night falls, Jack arrives at the resort and finds the place massively secure. This time there are armed guards spread out everywhere, in addition to the judge's own personal guards, and there are also people from Russia present, confirming that this network is far bigger than just a local group of criminals, that this has reached an international level. Master Jack begins his operation from outside the resort, moving with extreme stillness, and one guard after another starts disappearing from his path without much noise, without even drawing attention. In the middle of this operation, we discover Detective Lee is also present there as well. You might ask what brought him there. The answer is that his role was to protect the judge and secure the entire location. But the man who appeared at the beginning of the film interrogating Jack is now completely different. He holds Jack at gunpoint and is in agreement with the judge that the two of them will capture Jack. Indeed, they capture Jack and bring him in to the judge, and as soon as the judge sees him, he says that this is the one behind everything that's happened, and without much more talk tells Detective Lee to finish him off, saying he doesn't want any more trouble. Jack is then taken out with Detective Lee, and as soon as they're alone, Jack grabs him and breaks the bones in his face. At that moment, the judge's guards hear the noise and come running toward him, but Jack doesn't give them any chance at all, taking them down one after another, sparing none of them, from the biggest to the smallest. After Master Jack clears all these obstacles, he goes back once more to Judge Kim Hoon, and the judge, of course, now understands he is cornered, facing someone who fears no influence and cares nothing for his position or power. So he tries to play his last card, offering him protection, reminding him he's a candidate for Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, and that one word from him could get him out of all his troubles. But Jack stays silent, so the judge keeps talking, telling him just one phone call from him is enough to erase all his records and past as if he were never born, as if he'd never done anything. Instead of responding to all these temptations, Jack asks him a direct question about Mama Pig. The judge smiles at that and reveals the darkest truth of the entire story. He admits that she is actually Yeonjae's mother, the one who raised her from the start, the same woman who is Jack's wife's friend, who had been traveling with her a while back, and that she'd been part of the network from the very beginning. He explained she deals with wealthy men, supplying them with young girls, and when trouble started closing in on her, she reached out to the judge herself, offering him Yeonjae as a gift in exchange for his protection, and his silence about her actions meaning this woman had become her late husband's daughter's caretaker just to save herself, and we learn Yeonjae was never actually her daughter to begin with. The judge continues, explaining she knew the girl was set to inherit huge properties and assets, and that she stood to benefit from every angle possible, which is why she decided to get rid of her. Jack, of course, is shocked and falls silent for a moment, absorbing everything he's hearing. He then asks the judge if he intends to continue doing what he's been doing, but the judge answers him very coldly, telling him what's happened has already cost him a large number of the girls he'd been trafficking, and that he's no longer interested in these things like before. He shrugs it off, and then very simply suggests they pin all the blame on Mama Pig and Detective Lee and close the file, as if none of it ever happened. At this point, the judge's heart settles, feeling he's found a way out of this mess. But then the judge starts talking about Yeonjae and girls like her with pure contempt, making clear he sees them as undeserving of any concern, not even deserving of life itself. Jack stays silent for a moment, then looks at him with extreme calm and pulls the trigger on him, ending everything related to the judge, wiping him out of the story completely. Jack then heads to a final confrontation with the wife of Yeonjae's late father, to find out the truth of the matter. He reveals to her everything he's learned about the whole filthy life she's been part of. At first she tries to defend herself, claiming she cared for Yeonjae as much as she could. At that point the woman completely loses her temper, starts screaming and cursing, even claiming she was the one who truly deserved all of Yeonjae's father's money. But Jack looks at this scene with the utmost calm in the world, and repeats the same line that ends everything, telling her no child deserves to die, and kills her, ending the stepmother's story as well. In the end, everything finally settles after all the violence and chaos that took place, and we see Jack's wife standing alone on the beach, holding a camera, taking a few photos of the sea and sky in a rare moment of peace in the world. Jack, meanwhile, stands at a distance watching her without getting close. Yeonjae comes up to him, and he goes over to his wife and tells her he's finally been able to keep his promise. And with that, buddy, the film ends. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel if it's your first time here, and I'll see you in the next recap.